We are at Fort Moultrie on Sullivan's Island in South Carolina, right across the waterway here from Charleston, South Carolina. So let's go inside and check it out. As you walk through these walls today, it's easy to forget that this fort has witnessed nearly 2 centuries of American military history. From the American Revolution to World War II, generations of soldiers stood watch over the entrance to Charleston Harbor. But none of those stories would have been possible without one extraordinary day in the summer of 1776. Back then, this wasn't Fort Moultrie. It was an unfinished fort simply known as Fort Sullivan, named after Sullivan's Island. Instead of the brick walls surrounding us today, the original fort was little more than a square enclosure built from palmetto logs packed with sand. It looked crude, temporary, and no match for the most powerful navy in the world. To the British, capturing Charleston seemed inevitable. Fort Sullivan's commander, Colonel William Moultrie, had fewer than 450 men and just enough artillery to defend the harbor. Across the water, the British assembled an overwhelming force under Admiral Sir Peter Parker and General Henry Clinton. Their fleet included powerful warships carrying more than 250 cannons, while thousands of British soldiers prepared to storm the island. On June 28, 1776, the attack began. British warships sailed into position and unleashed a deafening barrage. Cannonballs screamed through the air, hammering Fort Sullivan hour after hour. Smoke filled the sky, and splintered wood flew in every direction. But something unexpected happened. Instead of shattering, the soft palmetto logs absorbed the impact. Many cannonballs simply buried themselves in the spongy wood or bounced harmlessly away. What looked like a weakness had become the fort's greatest strength. Inside the fort, Moultrie's men calmly returned fire, carefully conserving their limited supply of gunpowder. Every shot had to count. Then disaster nearly struck. During the relentless bombardment, a British cannonball severed the staff holding the fort's blue flag, sending it crashing to the ground outside the walls. For a moment, British sailors cheered. From the ships offshore, it appeared the Americans had surrendered. But Sergeant William Jasper had other ideas. Ignoring the hail of enemy fire, Sergeant William Jasper leaped over the fort's wall, grabbed the fallen flag, and planted it onto a makeshift staff fashioned from a sponge rammer. Standing tall above the parapet once again, the flag signaled to both sides that the defenders had no intention of giving up. His act of courage instantly became one of the defining moments of the Revolution. Meanwhile, General Clinton's troops faced an unexpected obstacle of their own. They had planned to cross the shallow waters separating Long Island from Sullivan's Island and attack the fort from behind. The problem? The water wasn't shallow enough. Instead of a simple march, they found a deep, fast-moving channel that made crossing nearly impossible under American fire. The planned land assault never materialized, leaving the British fleet to fight alone. As the day wore on, the battle turned into a disaster for the Royal Navy. Several British ships were badly damaged, including HMS Bristol, Admiral Parker's flagship. Hundreds of sailors were killed or wounded as accurate American cannon fire tore through the fleet. One frigate, HMS Actaeon, ran aground on a sandbar and had to be abandoned and burned to keep it from falling into American hands. After nearly 10 exhausting hours of combat, the British finally withdrew. Against overwhelming odds, the unfinished fort had survived. The victory sent shockwaves through the colonies. Just 6 days later, on July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. While the decision for independence had already been set in motion, the stunning victory at Fort Sullivan provided a desperately needed boost in morale. It proved that American forces could stand their ground against the seemingly invincible British military. In recognition of Colonel William Moultrie's leadership, The fort was later renamed Fort Moultrie in his honor. Today, visitors walking through Fort Moultrie can still stand where those soldiers fought nearly 250 years ago. The palmetto tree has become South Carolina's official state tree, and it remains proudly displayed on the state flag, a lasting tribute to the fort whose unusual construction helped change the course of history. What began as an unfinished fort built from palmetto logs became the site of one of the American Revolution's first great victories, proving that determination, ingenuity, and a little unexpected engineering could overcome even the most powerful empire on earth. Stretching along the walls of Fort Moultrie is an impressive row of historic cannons, each representing a different chapter in the fort's long military history. These massive guns once guarded the entrance to Charleston Harbor, ready to fire on any enemy fleet daring to approach. From smoothbore cannons of the Revolutionary War to powerful coastal artillery that served through the Civil War and into the 20th century, Cannon Row tells the story of how America's coastal defenses evolved over nearly 170 years. All right, this is our last morning in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm standing in the middle of Marion Square, so named after the swamp fox, Francis Marion, who fought in the French and Indian War and then fought in the American Revolution, was made famous in the movie The Patriot. Mel Gibson played Francis Marion, or loosely based on Francis Marion. I'm just walking around, some really cool buildings around me. Such a cool town, so many cool things to see historically. We started the history tour here with Fort Sumter, just walked around the neighborhood we were staying in, went to Fort Moultrie on Sullivan's Island, ton of historical markers. So I'm just walking around here. I see some cannons. Some really cool old buildings here. There's a cemetery right down the road that's dates back to the 1600s. Don't know what this building is, but let's go look at the sign here. I'm gonna keep walking this way. I know there's some historical markers over here about South Carolina, specifically Charleston during the American Revolution. So let me go see if I can find it over here. The Siege of Charleston, 1780. British capture of Charleston in May 1780 was one of the worst American defeats of the Revolution. So it says in 1780, this square, so right out here, and its surrounding buildings were within the footprint of a massive fortification called the Hornwork. This spot marked the northern perimeter of the city of Charleston, and there was an actual city gate in the center of the Hornwork that straddled the broad path, now King Street. King Street's right out here. Liberty Trail. Oh, this is cool. This is remnants of the old fort here. Remnant of Hornwork, May 1780, Siege of Charleston.